Today I want to talk about the meek inheriting the earth and why it's kind of a big deal. So last night, Iran, they had um they had attacked Israel. Now this is the first time they've ever done this. I didn't know that, honestly. I was informed just recently that since Israel was born, this was the first time they've done that. But the thing that got me was that Saudi Arabia and Jordan stepped in to stop some of the drone attacks. And it reminds me of why the meek inherit the earth. I happen to teach people who are learning English as a second language. I've met a lot of Saudi Arabians, and they've always approached me with caution because they understand that our media is against them. And so they are always very closed up and scared of maybe the way what I'd say or the way I'd react. But as soon as I tell them, I understand your culture, I understand your religion, your beliefs, I understand some of your government and the way it operates now, not entirely, but some of it, and things that have changed in laws and stuff. I make it very quickly clear that I understand your culture, and they open right up, and they will even have conversations with me about how they know that they'll even say, I hope you don't think that you believe your media because, even though I'm from Saudi Arabia or from Egypt or whatever, we're not all this or that or whatever that they know the media tells us. They understand they're painted with a certain type of shade. And it's very sad. Now, Saudi Arabia, a lot of people in this has been liberated, and I've seen it and heard it myself. Okay, the women telling me in the last few years, oh, I'm learning to drive and I'm teaching my mom to drive because they actually couldn't drive up until just a few years ago. Women couldn't. And there's a liberation. I mean, Justin Bieber was just there for the boulevard, they call it, and therefore the winterland. And basically these are really big festivals and winter parties that are very comfortable and happy and outside, and a lot of great food and stuff. And everybody talks about it. They talk about it all year long, and there are famous people who go there. And do they dress a certain way? Maybe I've never seen the famous people there do whatever they're doing, but maybe they tone it down a little bit because they know where they are, but I'm not sure. I just was always shocked by that, and that's how I knew something was changing in that country. The people are very kind, very warm, and at the end of the day, especially within my own family, I have a sister who's Italian. My family is Colombian, my father's side. um, my mother's side is Irish, but I also have a lot of black cousins. There was actually more black cousins in my family. I was the minority, uh, and they were the majority. So there are certain things culturally that I enjoy that maybe aren't something the average person who looks like me enjoys. I enjoy hip hop. I enjoy music videos. I enjoy just things like this. A certain type of culture is my favorite. So uh, we used to have really in-depth conversations, especially when it would confront us when we go to Tennessee to visit my grandparents. The people in stores and stuff would make it very clear in the 1990s that they still had a prejudice and a shade toward black people, and I know it still exists, but because time has passed, but people sometimes don't change. I'm not talking about Tennessee. I'm talking about just people in general. And we'd heard certain words said, and we saw and felt the shade of people, and which I'd never felt before as somebody who apparently looks the way I do. And we had really in-depth conversations from very young ages. I don't know, 7, 8 years old, talking about why is the world like this. And so the person who ended up dying last night was a little Muslim girl. A lot of people don't care because the people throwing the rockets happen to be air quote Muslims. And whether it's in the womb or and again, I don't believe that just because a Muslim little girl died, that justifies us not Israel not defending itself or anything like that. There are a lot of kids dying in Palestine, but there's kids dying in the womb too. But nobody wants to have that argument. What it just reminded me of, especially seeing these other countries, Jordan as well, stepped in and stopped the rockets, is that I know kids can be mean and harsh and all this, and they can kind of be very possessive and rude, but I also think kids have a way about them that's very confused about the politics of the world, and that's an innocence to them. And at the end of the day, if you really just draw out who the real bullies are and what real good is, and if you make that clear without all the media narrative and shade that's thrown against other people and countries, especially the way it's been thrown to Saudi Arabia. I've made videos about this. I've always been very, especially underneath my videos, you'll see a lot of commentary on how it's changed. And how we just don't see those countries the way that they really are, places like Saudi Arabia, very specifically, because I'm in Egypt, because I know I've taught a lot of people from there, like at least hundreds. And the media really does have sway over your mind. You can see this in millions of people who believe things about Israel. I mean, they're literally letting people come into Israel to be fed. In that last incident was an accident. It was a friendly fire problem, and they have hundreds of trucks, and that was one truck out of, after so many months, thousands of trucks that have gone through. It's just the media is withholding information, and you can tell by what's omitted that something is wrong. If Israel really was against the food trucks, no food truck would be in there at all for Israel to hit. But nobody seems to want to do the math, and it's very intentional. And I do think it's spiritual. Boy in the striped pajamas. Like when you see evil being done, especially when it comes to war and the things that have to be done in war. Like for example, when Germany was raided, you really think they were counting children and feeding people, as they were raiding joints? No, they weren't. They were just taking care of business, trying to free people from camps and trying to get rid of the enemy. And war is messy. By the end of the day, if you really look down to the core of it, the people who really suffer are the children. And if only we could just be more like the meek who do inherit the earth, who look at each other, who really see the truth for what it is, without the narrative, without shade. And that's what Saudi Arabia and Jordan did to me, for me yesterday, spiritually. As I realized, when push comes to shove, and it's probably political for them. I have no idea. But at the end of the day, good is good, bad is bad. Radical is radical. Zealous is zealous. Regardless of what your God is, regardless of what your belief system is, if you have to kill in order to serve your God, you might not be serving a good God. That's the message. I do believe Israel should defend itself. All these things, but I know nobody's mourning the little Muslim girl. Neither is Iran, because that's the evil world we live in. This is Linda of Christ is King forever. May God be with you.